Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 25th Eugene City Council work session. And the first thing up this evening is the committee reports and items of interest from mayor, city council, and city manager. And there is a lot of stuff. I just wanted to say thank you both to our Human Rights Commission and the NAACP for the Martin Luther King Day events. They were great. I had a meeting with members of the Asian community about their concern over the Taser incident and their desire to hear more from us about that. I got to go speak to LCC students about voting. Went to the Fire EMS Awards, which was really wonderful. I went up. I belong to the, or am appointed to the Oregon Commission for Child Care, so I went up for that meeting. We had a walking and biking summit before our goal-setting meeting, which was an excellent thing. And the Green Home Show was this week, and I don't know if all of you got to go to that, but that was very, very, very crowded and well done. And then I wanted to, we all got our report from the auditor, and he's going to come talk to us next week. Is it next week? From Monday. A week from Monday. But one of the things that he wrote to you in his report that I thought was worth mentioning out loud here tonight is one of the members of the Civilian Review Board, Snell Fontes, is Haitian and is currently doing humanitarian work in Haiti. So Beth actually asked me if we wanted to send something from the council thanking him for what he's doing, and I thought that would be a really good thing to do. So we will do that, and I look forward to hearing from him. And then I also wanted to take note of that we heard from the chief that there was a bias crime in Bethel, and it's been our custom, and I think it should continue to be our custom to say that we don't want bias crimes in our community, and we want to speak out about them when they occur. In this case, a person had a ugly name, I think, written on his home, which is very frightening to people to have that kind of experience happen to them. So we want him to know that we're supportive and care about him and his rights in our community. So with that, I'm going to, Betty, do you have anything you want to talk about?
Yes.
Go for it.
Mike and I met with the police auditor and the assistant auditor with Don and Mark, and as you have already said, he's going to be here, so that's good. We had a good meeting with the two of them. The street assessment committee met, Jennifer, George Poling, and I, with Bart Schoening and Fred McVeigh. And we had, I thought, was a very, very productive meeting. They were very well prepared and had good information. It was. We are discussing things like deferred assessments and travel shed and equalizing assessments. And if you have, we have 3 more meetings before we bring it to council, but I thought we made a lot of progress. We had some agreement on some things, and others we have posted some more difficult ones we're going to discuss later. But let us know what you think. Then today, with nothing else to do, I went to the parking committee meeting, and I don't think we came to a lot of agreements, but we have some ideas. And we'll be I think we've done as much as we can do as a committee, probably. And I guess that's it. I think somebody else will say anything else that I'm thinking.
Okay, thank you. Andrea?
Thank you, Mayor. So last week was a pretty interesting week when I think about the different constituencies that we interacted with. So Monday I was at the MLK event along with the mayor. Tuesday night we had our open house, or not our open house, but our public hearing. Wednesday evening, I was at the Hilton with a lot of folks, and I'm sure we're going to talk about the chamber business celebration, and that was really good. It was pretty inspirational, actually. And then Thursday night, I made my way over to Springfield and had dinner with the students from Jinju, and they put on a little pantomime play about a video that they did. And they were very grateful that somebody came from the city, so I was glad to be able to make time to go. And then Thursday, I went over to the Bethel School District. So when I think about all our constituencies, it's just kind of interesting on our that conversation that we had during our last goal-setting session about how we don't really get enough time to talk about the different areas that we're involved in outside of this 3 minutes. I really hope that we can look at giving ourselves more time, because I think that those are things that we're pretty committed to doing for our community, and I don't think we get to speak of them enough. I don't know if I spoke about LRAPA the last time we got a chance to talk about what we were doing. I don't think I did. So at our last LRAPA meeting, we weren't able to come to an agreement on who to vote as the member at large from Springfield. And this has really been concerning me about how we interact on LRAPA, and I want to spend my time wisely in the money that the city and the county and the other cities put into it. So I've asked them to look at the process that we used with our listening circles. I can't think of the gentleman's name. Bob Chadwick. I've sent him the link. Sent the link to Merlin, who's the executive director for LRAPA, to look at and to say, we need to do this work, because I really feel like that is a really critical organization to have in our community. I think it's really important, but I also think that there's some huge concerns people have about each other and statements that are made there that to me are really divisive. And so I really kind of want to move us along and make sure that we're impacting the communities, that be there for our protection and still be respectful of people and be respectful of each other. So I'm hoping that they'll take that up, because I really do think that that's an important thing for us to do. And I just wanted to mention this Thursday, Serbu Center, their youth cooking, their culinary class is having an open house from 11 to 2, I think. I got an email. I don't know if everybody got it, but it's an open house, and they're testing their waters for some desserts. And so I think it's free. So if people are interested in going, they're looking to try and build up their catering service. And so if people are interested in participating in that, I think, or seeing what they can offer. And then there was actually a coupon. If you attend, you get 20% off your first catering order. So just a little plug for them.
Little incentive.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
I had the opportunity to attend both the Springfield and the Eugene Chamber of Commerce annual dinners, which were great, very enjoyable. They're both unique and different in their own ways, and both equally enjoyable, and it was nice to see the emphasis on cooperation and partnerships in there. I also want to just reflect on our goal-setting meeting that we held on Saturday. It was the second of our two, and I think we moved further down in terms of progress in helping to identify some of the strategic and priority-oriented issues that then can be folded directly into the budget process. So rather than getting together on Saturday to just sit around and chat, this is really focused toward helping us define the kind of budget that we need to go into, and I think that's very important. Today, the Housing Policy Board Allocations Committee met today to begin to talk about the granting process for this year. They have identified the site just north of the old Westmoreland School on City View and 18th as the next site for development, and so they'll be putting out RFPs for that. That should be very exciting. The Parking Committee also met today, and as was pointed out, incremental progress is still progress, and so that's a good thing. And then I had a meeting moved, which is a great thing, because I will be able to be at the mayor's one-on-one, which will be at the Albertsons on 18th.
Tomorrow at 5.
Chambers, tomorrow at 5. So come one, come all. And that's all I have.
Thank you for that. Alan.
I, too, was at the MLK celebration, and a good event, good turnout. Attended the Sustainability Commission, and I thought our goal-setting session was moved us down the road, waiting to see what we get back.
Jennifer.
Yes, I attended the Human Services Commission meeting where we are starting down the budget process. They're doing it a little differently this year based on some prioritization from the community, an outreach process that they had done. And I'm kind of having trouble getting my arms around it, so I'm hoping that at the next meeting I can better describe to you how they are doing that. Let's see, as Betty mentioned, I attended the Street Assessment Policy Review Committee, and that was highly productive, really interesting meeting. I also attended the Public Safety Coordinating Council. They released their report card, which is, and I think you guys all got a copy of the report card in your packet on Thursday, and I meant to bring it just to highlight a few points, but I'm sure you noticed lots of C's, D's, and F's. So there's lots of room for opportunity and improvement in our public safety system. And then finally, I went to a really interesting meeting, which you guys may have had over the years, but I met with the folks from the Buford Park Mount Pisgah project, and they have that wildish property that borders them on the north side, and so they just shared with me their vision for the property, and it was just really interesting what a resource that is, and it's pretty underutilized in my opinion, and so that was fun to see how that really fits into some of the larger goals that we've talked about here at the table.
Did you flyover video?
Yeah. Wasn't that neat? That was really cool. So, thank you.
George?
Well, in addition to the two chamber dinners, in reference to the Eugene Chamber Dinner, I just want to point out that, annually they recognize what they call their rising stars in their seniors from the local high schools, and this year they were all female students. And it just gives you kind of a moment to step back and realize that there are a lot of good kids out there that are working hard and doing things not only for themselves in their schools but for their community. And these, was there 6 of them I think there were, are just a sampling of some of the kids that we have in our community and all the good they do for this community. And I just want to commend all of them for all that work. And then, Sarah, I got an email from a constituent about some traffic problems up on Crescent and Hawthorne Estates, and I forwarded it to John. And I don't know how long he's going to be out, but can you check on that and see if you want me to resend the email to you? It's about a problem with pedestrians that live in the Hawthorne Estates trying to cross Crescent to get over into the park inside Crescent Meadows. So if you can let me know if I need to resend the email on that. And then congratulations to all the people at the fire EMS promotions. There were a number of promotions and also some civilian awards that went out, so congratulations to them. And let's see. Thursday is the LCOG Annual Awards Dinner that my wife and I will be attending, and I guess you're going to be the MC for the evening, so it'll be fun to see Chris all dressed up in his tuxedo, right?
Tuxedo.
Or high.
So, and that's all I have for now.
George?
On Monday, my family and I went to the Martin Luther King March, and we walked with Council President Clark and his 2 children. It was fun. It was a good event. Turnout was pretty good. Not quite as big as last year, I don't think, but pretty good. And I went to the program at the Holt Center later that evening, and the next night, Tuesday, I went to the Human Rights Commission meeting where the police auditor, Mark Gissner, informed all the new counselors about how that office works and how the Civilian Review Board works. And then I ran down to the Wow Hall and spoke briefly at the Citizens for Public Accountability. They had a use of force public meeting, kind of like a town hall. That was very well attended. There were around 100 people there. Pretty good conversation, some pretty good questions. It was a good panel. Finally, on Thursday, while Councilor Ortiz was in Springfield with the Korean students, I filled in on the Downtown Neighbor Association meeting for her. So,
Thank you.
where once again there was Mark Gissner, our police auditor, and Chief Kearns too, going over the downtown safety issue. So that was it.
Thank you. Mike?
I'm going to try and get all this in 3 minutes. I did the police commission meeting on Thursday the 14th, and we had a very good discussion. Several others were there as well. One of the things, there were several things said that were very important. Part of it, the continued work on the Taser policy and how that format will come to us from the subcommittee. I found we had a report from Judge Allen, kind of the state of the courts and some things that are happening there. One of the things that I found particularly interesting that he said was that he had gone to 14 beds at the jail, and I got the memo that said here just the other day that they've gone back to the 15 now. But it was quite interesting that he said he should have 25. And that he often doesn't assign jail time to people that he should, but for the lack of bed space that he has, and that was one of the challenges he talked about there for a while. I'm not sure if it was mentioned previously at this table, but the chief also mentioned that instead of just those who carry tasers having the CIT, crisis intervention training, he's now made it a policy that he wants all officers to get that training, and I think that's fantastic. As George mentioned, I did do the MLK March on Monday morning, and actually the chief and his family took some great pictures of George and I and our families that I thought are kind of cool. As Betty said, we met with the auditor, the celebration of business on Wednesday night that I went to. I want to say congratulations to John Shepard, who's this year's first citizen, for all the fantastic work he does in our community with the Relief Nursery and so many other agencies. Attended the Fire and EMS Awards on the 21st, was particularly impressed with the business partner, the recycling company that they use. Our fire department has a number of private business partners that they use in order to lower the cost to the taxpayer, to the citizen, of training for the work they do. And this company, and I wish I could remember the name, donates junk cars so that they can practice extrications, and they received an award for it, and I thought it was great. Got an opportunity to give the opening remarks for the boards and commissions training for new members of boards and commissions on Saturday morning before our goal setting, which I thought was a good thing this Saturday. As was said, I too attended today's parking subcommittee meeting, and I want to say particularly thank you to Susan. I think she's sitting back over there for doing such a good job of leading us through the process to bring back to the council a set of data that will help us kind of work through what sort of choices we could make to make it a more welcoming environment downtown. And then lastly, I want to make sure we're saying that this Thursday at 7 p.m. is the Cal Young Neighborhood Association meeting at the Sheldon Community Center, and I have 6 seconds to spare.
After Sarah, I just want to say something else.
I was just mostly going to say it's amazing. I was out of town last week, and it's incredible the amount of things that I missed in a week of being out of town. So I want to give a special thanks to Eugene Airport, because I, in my travels, went through the Eugene Airport and ended up in San Francisco, Monterey, getting bumped, canceled, moved, and my best experience has always been in Eugene. It's so nice that we have that here as an option for flying in and out. I was also at the goals session with you on Saturday. I thought that was a really excellent session. It was televised, and so if people want to go back and watch it on the webcast, they can, and I'll just give a brief overview when we get to that item about where we're going with the next steps. So.
I just wanted to mention 2 things. I didn't get any response from anybody around the tasers except from the mayor about the taser policy that we've asked the police commission to run by us. So I sent out an email
I saw that.
after Chief Kern sent us his interim policy, because I feel, and I've had a lot of conversations, and I explained myself in the email that I'd had conversations, and after attending a few meetings, that it seems to me that they think we're really putting them under the thumb to be done with their work faster. And I just kind of want to get either a thumbs up, a nods, or if I have to put a formal motion forward, I'll be glad to do that, to allow them to work at the pace that they normally work at.
Yeah, sure.
Because I really feel like they feel like, us saying something isn't as good as, a concrete whatever. And that is one of the things that I want to say. So I'd like to hear some responses on that, please. And then before we go on, I just wanted to also bring up that actually Dr. Fontes has lost family in this earthquake. And so if we're going to do anything, I think we should donate money to the Red Cross as opposed to trying to, or whatever charity you choose, I think it'd be,
Do both.
it's best, I think, that if we did something along those lines. And I would hope that people remember to turn in their ballots. So, tasers.
Yeah, I agree with you that they should work at their own pace. I thought we had that worked out after the last meeting. But I thought it was unfortunate that some members of the council went to their subcommittee and rushed them along a little bit. But I too would want to make sure that we're encouraging them to take the amount of time that's appropriate to do this right and to do it in a way where the community can all get behind the final product. And I'm sure George or I, as liaisons, would be happy to take that message back.
So why don't you, my suggestion is that you guys, since you're all here tonight, touch bases with Andrea tonight. She'll know where people are, and then if we need to do a motion or something on Wednesday, we can do it.
Just get head nods.
Get a head
Let
nod.
them please work at the pace that they're
I see nodding.
I agree with Mike.
Okay.
I'd like to see him move along faster than they're
I
doing.
would Yeah,
Okay, well then,
I think we need a little conversation.
Okay, well, so from here, I would like to have something by Wednesday to give to them, because they're working, and I feel like they feel like they need to be responsive to the unbalance, or the comments that they've heard that people want them to move faster than not. And historically, there has never been a time frame around the work that they've done, and after being on the commission for 7 years, we've worked at our own pace, and there's never been any artificial, and there have been other really controversial issues. This isn't the first one that the police have dealt with, and I'm amazed, I'm almost sure that this won't be the last one. So I kind of just want to make sure that they understand what
We'll
we're
either
coming
do a
from.
head nod or a motion on Wednesday, and in between time, you can have a chance to talk to everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And I wanted to just clarify that from your meeting for people who are listening who don't know who the students from Chinju are, I just want to be sure that people
Oh, I'm
know
sorry.
that that's Chinju, Korea, and that's our sister city, and they're students, that we have students going back and forth every year between Eugene and Chinju. It's a great thing. And I also would feel really bad, George, if I didn't mention Geffen Perlson was one of the rising, the winner. Since I mentored her here, I would feel really bad if I didn't.
She was very impressive.
If I didn't
She was
acknowledge
very
that. So I was really excited and pleased that she was chosen. She is they were all wonderful, but she is really an excellent person. Yeah. All right, so we're going to move now on to the next item on our agenda. And I'm supposed to adjourn the meeting of the Eugene City Council and convene the meeting of the Eugene Urban Renewal Agency. And we are going to have a work session on the Lane Community College Downtown Center project. I'm very excited to hear all about this. Been waiting for this. So welcome, Mary Spildy, President of LCC.
Well, Mayor and City Councillors, thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you about the project. I hope that I'll be able to convey to you the excitement and the commitment that we feel at Lane Community College, and I know our board feels about moving forward with this project. And, you know, the summary highlights that I hope you'll get out of the very brief comments I'm going to make are to do with providing excellent instructional space. So it's about our programs, and certainly our students and our programs are our priority. But in doing that, we are living by one of our values, actually two of our values, sustainability, because this will be a very sustainable building, and collaboration and partnership, because we really are looking forward to this partnership with the city. And then the third component is downtown revitalization and being a part of that. So, as you know, our board reviewed a number of sites, and we are very interested in acquiring the site at 10th and Charlton. And we really would like to see that be the new home of the Lane Community College downtown campus. I want to talk about the need for just a moment. You know where we are, an old Montgomery Ward store, which is the facility that Lane owns that I am most embarrassed about in terms of the kinds of instructional spaces that we offer there. We serve some of our most marginalized students at our downtown center, English language learners, people who need basic skills, and we're doing that in the very worst space. And if we ever want to help those students make the transition into college-level courses, we've got to give them a sense of pride, not only in their own education, but in the place where they're accessing that education. And it's very hard to do that in that particular space. We've invested money over the years to try and make it work for learning, and it simply doesn't. So it's time for us to move on and find another place. So we, in the new project, there are a variety of things that we're going to do. Certainly we're going to serve the needs of the students that are currently served at our downtown center. So our English language learners, basic skills learners, our continuing ed students, as well as now, because of our enrollment bump and the fact that we are absolutely full on the 30th Avenue campus between the hours of 8 and 2, we're scheduling 18 to 20 regular credit courses on downtown. So we're already bringing different kinds of students to that facility. So we would continue to do that. We also want to move our business programs currently housed at the Wildish building next to the Chamber of Commerce into this new facility. So our Business Development Center, our programs where we work with business on employee training, and our idea is that we'll try and create kind of a business hub, places where businesses can meet, where we have workshops and seminars that serve the business community, certainly the downtown business community, but also the broader business community, and have kind of a focus on education and business development as part of this. And then the last piece in terms of our program that we plan to do is move our energy programs downtown. Lane Community College has the energy management program. We've been doing it since the late 80s. Before it was hip to be green, we had an energy management program. And it's the nationally recognized leading program in energy efficiency. And we're very, very proud of that. We're very proud of the national reputation that we've received. And when you think about training for green jobs, certainly we hope that we'll have the opportunity to train people for renewable resources like solar, for example. But by far, the vast number of jobs in green jobs are in energy efficiency. It's renovating the built environment that we already have. And when we just look around our community at the built environment and recognize how much we have to do to retrofit that to make it much more sustainable and energy efficient, that's what we're training people for in this program. It's people who go in and audit, figure out what needs to be done to a building, do some of the implementation and installation, and also make recommendations for efficiency. Through our energy management program, we also run the Northwest Energy Education Institute, and this is a program for energy professionals, people that are already working in the energy field, come from all over the Northwest to Eugene to access education and training that allows them to keep current in their fields. And so we would house that at the downtown. So that would bring people not only into the center, but utilizing places to stay in the community as well. The benefits of doing this, not only will we have stellar space for the education of our students, but we plan to have this be a very green building. We are aiming for a LEED Platinum building right here in the downtown. And really, we want to focus on the triple bottom line, so that we're focusing on the economy of the downtown and the economics for the college, of course. We're focusing on the social aspects of having an educational facility in downtown, as well as having an environmentally sustainable building and teaching about environmental sustainability. So this will not only be a green building, it will be a building that teaches about being green. So we think that that is a great fit for with some of the city's goals. So we're very, very excited about that. Currently, we serve about 8,000 students downtown. We have about 150 full and part-time employees. And the new building, just for the educational piece, would be about 80,000 square feet to accommodate all of these programs that I've just mentioned. In addition to that, we are looking at the possibility of building some space that would be for commercial lease. And the reason for that is our board has figured out, as we all have, that there's never going to be enough public money. And so we have to figure out how to leverage our assets to be more entrepreneurial and bring in resources, not so that we can be profit-making, but so that we can have money to fulfill our mission and do what we need to do for the community. So that is something that we're looking at the feasibility of. The third thing is that we have done a feasibility study on housing, student housing, and the feasibility study shows that there is a need for student housing in the downtown area. So we're very interested in pursuing that. We currently have contracted with Gerding Edelen from Portland to do the first phase of our project management. So really to do the feasibility, not only of the site itself, but also around leasing, having space for lease, as well as bringing the housing piece together. We've also engaged a design team as part of that to come up with a new concept now that we know the site that we're interested in and we know exactly what we want to put in the building. And we've hired Robertson Sherwood, who I believe built the library, and they're partnering with SRG in Portland, who have a great deal of experience in sustainability. So they're now part of our first phase of the project. We will have that report back from them in early March. And so at that point, we'll understand the feasibility of all the pieces of the project. We'll have a new design, conceptual design, and we'll have new figures on the costs of this building. So we're really looking forward to that. Which brings me to the financing. We have some of the money already. We built $9 million in the bond that was passed by voters a year ago, November, for this purpose. We also have received $8 million from the state in bonding authority, bringing us to $17 million, and we received a federal earmark of $550,000 for the energy program. So we're at 17.55 in terms of our financing for this project, and so there is a gap, and we're not being naive about the fact that there is a gap, but we feel that we're putting a lot of energy into closing that gap. And let me just give you some of the options that we're pursuing. The first is the President Obama's investment in community colleges, known as the American Graduation Initiative. And that is in the Senate right now, and of course the Senate has been focusing on health care and not much else. So some of our board members will be back in Washington in a couple of weeks trying to move that forward. But included in that initiative is $2.5 billion for community college facilities. However, the money that the federal government would bring must be leveraged by local and state money. And of course this, we believe, is a perfect project. Plus it fits in with the goals in the rest of the American Graduation Initiative around training for green jobs. So we're doing our best to position ourselves for that. So we're pursuing that. We are working to pursue new market tax credits. This is a U.S. Treasury financing mechanism. I've had a presentation on it, but it's terribly complicated. But we have a couple of community colleges that have completed this process. Most recently, Chemeketa Community College brought $4 million to one of their projects through new market tax credits, and we believe that we would be in a similar position to bring that kind of resource to the project. We're pursuing, at the same time, federal energy tax credits, and again, because of the nature of this building, we feel like we'll be very, very competitive. And I've met twice now with the Department of Energy in Washington, and we'll be meeting with them again in a couple of weeks just to make sure that we are on their radar, and when they start to pass out that money, Lane is hopefully at the top of the list. We are pursuing another earmark. The earmark that we received, the $550,000, was part of a larger proposal. Congressman DeFazio and Senator Merkley and Senator Wyden were very, very helpful, and think that there's an opportunity for us to get more given the nature of the building. So we're working very closely on that, and we are hoping that the city will also help us with resources. In terms of our timeline, as I mentioned, we'll have our first report at the beginning of March. We're doing this basically in 3 phases. The first phase is the feasibility, the new conceptual design, and new cost estimates, because our cost estimates at this point are about 2.5, 3 years old, and we need to update those. Assuming that we, meaning the college and the city, are on the same page about acquisition of this site, as we negotiate acquisition of this site, assuming that there's some agreement around that, and we'd want some agreement around that before we move forward, because the next phase is investing quite a bit of money for an architect, and so we want to make sure that at least in principle, we're in the same place. We would do a bid for an architect and followed up by a bid for a construction manager, general contractor, which we think is the best way to accomplish this particular complex and large project. So that would be the second phase, and then, of course, the third phase would be actually shovels in the ground and seeing a building go up, which is what we're all very interested in having a party about. I think you mentioned at your State of the City address. So we are being very deliberate because we know it's a complicated project and it's going to have huge impact. But at the same time, we want to move as quickly as is feasible so that the community can see that something is really going to happen here and that it actually is going to happen. We know that that's important to you, and it's important to us. We want to be part of a really, really successful project. So we're ready to make this investment in the downtown. We're absolutely excited about it. And we're excited about being part of kind of rebuilding the downtown community. Community's our middle name, so we really like the idea of not only serving the needs of our own students and with the programs that we provide for them, but also our broader mission of serving the community, and this seems like the perfect project to do that. So that's just a brief outline of where we are, and if it's appropriate, be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So just to put this into context of the discussion that we've been having, I'll take us back to the downtown strategies. You gave us 4 strategies earlier this year, looking at safety, looking at parking, looking at attractions and amenities, and jobs and redevelopment. And from that, we developed 8 projects, and this one clearly is one of the projects that fits very nicely into the jobs and redevelopment, along with all the other projects. I want to say that through all the surveys that we've done, the neighborhood meetings that we've done on this, LCC has been one of the projects that has finished very strongly in every single one. As a matter of fact, it's one of the only projects at the Downtown Neighborhood Association that got applause when it was announced for that. So we were pleased to bring this project forward. What tonight is really about, and I think as President Spieldy mentioned, we're looking for some commitment to give the college so that they can have some assurance to move forward in the next step. So what we're really looking for tonight is 3 things from the Urban Renewal Agency: support for the selection of LCC's project on this site, direction for us to enter into exclusive negotiations for their acquisition of the site, and third, directing us to return back to you for final review of those deal points. So we anticipate working with Mary's board over the next few weeks and coming back to you sometime February 22nd or 24th, depending on your schedule. And then I just wanted to take a quick minute to thank President Spieldy, her board, and her staff. They have been open and a real collaborative partner as we work through this, and it's been a great relationship, and we look forward to continuing that. And it's just been a great thing, and we're really excited about it.
Thank you. Well, needless to say, I'm excited about the prospect of this, and I want to fit it for people in with this economic development discussion that we've been having and the summit we had and all the things we were trying to do to generate new jobs and to fix our downtown and all the partnership of us working together for this community. The idea that I read in here that you think you're going to have people there 16 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, 100% utilization. I mean, that's exactly what we said we want in our downtown. I think I feel like the circle keeps turning around. We're back to the student housing discussion again, but I think it's a good one. So, certainly one of the council's goals has been to try to support more LEED standard buildings in our community, and for you to do that. And I know since we had the Sustainable Business Initiative, that Dream of the Energy Center has been probably long before that, but certainly was part of that discussion too. So all of that's pretty exciting, and I just want to appreciate the work that you've done with LCC through a very slim time, and now it looks a little better out there now, and it's a very exciting partnership just the kind of thing that we need. I actually believe your middle name is just right, so
That's
appreciate that a lot. Yes, it's very good. We'll remember that one. Mike and then Jennifer.
Well, first of all, to answer Susan's question about our support, speaking personally, I think that this is the exact right project in the exact right place. And I'm a big supporter of it. I think it gives us a number of opportunities for how downtown can be revitalized in other ways. I think this is a building block step to a number of other things that can happen. And on a side note, I'd like to say I was very happy to hear about your choice of Robert Sherwood to work with on this, having done such a spectacular job on the library. I think it at least provides the opportunity for some continuity in the downtown building, and I think that'll be lovely. It'll be wonderful. First is we've had a number of discussions at the table already about another goal of ours, to do a downtown public safety station. And I don't know what the level of conversation has been yet, but I'd love to hear about that and say that I would really love to encourage more of that we could create an opportunity for the city to have some manner of public safety station within the footprint of that area, if either of you wanted to say a word about that.
Sure, absolutely. We have brought that discussion forward, and all the college and Mary speak for themselves, but they've been very open to making that a piece of this discussion.
Yeah, we're open to that discussion. I mean, I would say that we want the presence of Lane to be the presence of Lane Community College, and we don't really want to be identified with any other entity. However, there are 3 streets that we have at our disposal here to make sure that when people come into the main entrance of the building, that what they see is whichever street that happens to be on, that they can see that they're part of Lane Community College. So I think there's so much flexibility in that site to accomplish our goal of having a signature building that reflects Lane downtown, but also provide opportunities for us to partner, whether it's a police substation or some other kind of
Well, that's wonderful.
So we're open to that.
I'm excited about that possibility. And then lastly, as I'm sure you probably know, the federal government is looking to build a veterans clinic and hospital somewhere, and I personally hope it's going to be 3 blocks down the street from you there. But have you had any sort of preliminary conversations with the Veterans Administration about nurse training or any of the other programs that you offer at Lane, and how there could be some partnerships built at this point, if not for the sake of their interest in some sort of program to help you finance the thing, but at least building those early partnerships to perhaps could help us land that downtown?
We haven't really had any conversations specifically about partnerships in Eugene. We have had some conversations with the Veterans Hospital in Roseburg about partnerships around some of the programs that we already do, specifically not so much nursing, but respiratory therapy and some of the other allied health programs, and how we might partner up. So we started those conversations only recently, and we have not had any specific conversations about Eugene, but we could.
And why not?
Yeah, I encourage anybody, whether that's a city thing that we can be of any assistance to you with, or something that's the college's work, I'd really encourage that. Thank you.
Jennifer?
Can I just clarify one thing on the location of the police substation? I think just to leave open the possibility that Chief Kearns is looking at that in terms of what is operationally best for a location. So we've opened the discussion up, and we'll figure that out as well. We'll take that into account as we work through this. But certainly that's one of the sites that we would want to consider. But there may be others.
I've got Jennifer, then Chris, and then Andrea.
Yeah, this is very exciting. Thank you for coming and sharing this. I guess my question was just, what are your plans for the existing building?
Well, we're not going to need the existing building once we move into this new facility. And so part of the direction I receive from our board is when we talk about acquiring the new site, that we also have a plan for disposal of our current site a couple of years hence when we actually move out of it. I mean, one of the positive things about us not staying where we are and renovating the the existing site is we can't stay there while we're building a new facility and then just move. So that saves us quite a bit on leasing costs where we would have had to find space to move into while we were rebuilding that facility. But we've concluded that we don't need a pretty large building on 10th and Charlton and our current downtown facility. So that's something that we would want to discuss with the city.
Thank you. Chris?
Oh, thank you. A very exciting prospect. I particularly like the idea of an educational institution being right across from a library so that you can have that synthesis. I was actually intrigued by a previous iteration, which was student housing for this site, and I'm pleased to see that there's a housing component that's being considered here. Since community colleges are not normally thought of as residential institutions, how would student housing work, and would that give you some flexibility in terms of what kind of students we're talking about?
Actually, more and more community colleges are moving into student housing. They're just finding that students, that there's a need, and so it makes some sense to them. I don't know that we would actually manage the housing. I mean, that's part of the feasibility that we need to do. We of course, have not been in the business of managing housing. I don't know if we'd want to get into that business. So that's something that we'll definitely consider. But, I mean, certainly for we are seeing more high school students come to Lane Community College as a result of the economy, and you might have been planning to go away to school or go to the University of Oregon, and because of maybe their parents lost their jobs or for whatever reason they're not able to do it financially. So we're seeing more students of what I would call the traditional college age coming to Lane. Our main population, of course, is the 25 to 44-year-old, and these are people that tend to, once they come to, or they start in the community and they stay in the community, but many of them want a more traditional college experience, even although they're from the community. So we think there's clearly a need for those students as well. And then the last group are our international students. We have some niche programs that attract international students, like energy, like our flight program, our aviation maintenance program, where we're not just training for Lane County, but we're training for the region and the nation and beyond. And some of the students, particularly from Asia, it's important to them to have a sense of where their children are going to be, because they do tend to be more college-age students. So this would be another opportunity for us to package a whole experience and package a very nice transition to the University of Oregon once those students are finished at Lane Community College. So we see a very nice partnership as well.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the residency potential, and as you move down the road and you begin to firm it up, you may find that having some flexibility around what that housing is may be a good thing. I mean, right now it looks like student, it could be a student and a blend or whatever, but I think getting people downtown in a residency situation is ideal, and it's great, and that area could definitely use that interplay that would occur. Could you just quickly remind us of the financing aspects in terms of kind of the amount of money you're looking to get the building built and how close you are and kind of what the timelines are?
The original figure, the first estimate on the facility was $27 million. But as I said, that's a pretty old estimate, and at that time we didn't have all of the programs that we're actually going to have in the building included. So, but that's kind of the benchmark that we're using, and I've let staff know that, I want them to dream a bit, but, we also have to create a building that we can actually afford to build. And so it's a balance between, everything we want and what's really doable. So we're at 17.5, so, there's about 10 million. And that is just for the educational piece of the program. So if we were going to do space for lease and housing, we'd have to figure out the costs of that over and above this. But there are examples of community colleges that have either done space for lease and housing. There are ways that we can do that where we have a revenue stream to pay off the debt. And Lane is fortunate; we have very, very little debt. So if we had to do that for something like housing and space that would create revenue, I think we could manage to do that. So we're looking at around 27-30 million for the educational piece.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
we're at
That's good progress.
17.5.
Yeah, no, it's
So
great
there's a
progress. I
gap, but
appreciate it.
we're putting our energy not into worrying about not getting the money, we're putting our energy into getting the money, and
Yeah.
that's kind of a positive approach to that.
That's good. No, that sounds great. I think that's good. You've made such great progress towards your goal. That's good.
Andrea?
Yes, I think it's great. Thank you for coming, President's Building. I just have a question about the cost. Is the property acquisition involved in the cost of the building?
It wasn't in our initial concept because we didn't know we were going to move when we put that figure together.
Okay.
That we were planning at that time to stay where we were and probably do a complete renovation, and that's what that figure was based on. That's why we thought it was important to get not only a new design but new cost estimates. So that is, something that we'll have to discuss.
Well, I don't want to give away the house, but I think that I think staff has heard from most of us that we're really interested in having you downtown and whatever it takes to get you down here. I think we're all committed as a council to make sure that happens. I don't have a formal vote or anything, but, and I don't want to have $1.
Give it a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I think I'll wait, and say anything else, but I just really want you to know that all of us, I think, really believe that it's very important that you're down here, and we're willing to work with you and to do whatever we need to do to make it a dream for our community come true.
Thank you.
Alan?
I'm excited about it too. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm excited about it. The concept sounds good. I especially like the energy management being downtown. I think that makes a lot of sense. And it is truly a world-class program. And actually, I've hired some people in that program, and they've been great. And I think almost everybody that's been a graduate of that program has actually been hired, which is unbelievable. Of course, it is around energy efficiency, which is where the green jobs really are. I think it's great that you're doing a LEED Platinum building, or at least trying to.
Yes.
I think that might be very few in Oregon, if any.
Very few. I don't think there's one. There's certainly not one at a community college. So.
Yeah, right. And there might be one in Portland, but so I'm eager to keep you downtown and help as much as possible. I guess the question for Susan is: so we went down a process where we did an RFP, got responses, picked one that didn't work out. Now we're here. Do we have to go back to another RFP? We could just choose someone to develop the site. How does all that, and what's the legal implications of all that process?
I'll, of course, let Glenn Klein answer the legal implications of that process, but we have talked about this.
Or legal requirements. Not
Right,
legal.
you can select the developer without having an RFP process, having gone through that. We have done that in the past for some sites, and I think there's examples where we haven't, but you do have the flexibility as an urban renewal agency to select a developer for a site.
Lynn, do you have anything you want to add to that?
What she said.
What she said, okay. Well, that's all good. George Brown?
Yeah, I think we're all, intrigued by the idea. I think it'd be a fabulous project. I have a little bit of a problem with part of the motion that we're being asked to approve tonight, though. Says select LCC to redevelop 10th and Charlton, direct the agency director, that would be our manager, to enter into an exclusive negotiation agreement with LCC for a period of 6 months. I'm fine with all of that. I don't know that, nobody else has been clamoring to develop on that site, and I think we've all, at least informally, thought that LCC would be the one that would develop a project there. Here's the part I have a problem with. Negotiate a purchase and sale agreement and return to the Urban Renewal Agency Board for final approval of terms. I think that should wait till after they finish their full feasibility study, because once we sign over all of the authority to deal with LCC to our city manager, we pretty much lose a large part of our voice, and because he is negotiating the purchase and sale agreement, and then we're just kind of waiting and waiting and waiting to see what happens, and we don't even know really what their proposal is yet. We don't know how much they want to buy the property for. I think we were going to sell it to WG for $1. I just feel like we need to know more when they finish their Part 1 scoping process before I'm willing to do everything else, but I have a problem with that part of our motion tonight. Do you understand what I'm talking about? I mean,
Susan has
I didn't explain it very well, I guess.
No, you did.
I think, and we might not have gotten the right language in the motion here, so let me explain to you what our intent was with this. It was to come back to you, and we'll be back, we think, at the end of February, after we have a chance to go negotiate some of the deal points with the community college board, to come back to you at that point to bring the points for the property transaction to you to look at. So it's our intent to come back and check in with you on that, and not to do that without the Urban Renewal Agency being involved. So that was why we put and return to the board, to you, with the URA board for final approval of the terms.
Okay, it just seems like once something's in the pipeline, it's almost impossible to turn it off. I just feel that we lose a large part of our input capability if we do it that way, because, you know, it was WG and Opus, and they came to us simultaneously, or had their proposals, and I wasn't on the council then. And then the council had the ability to pick one of them, and then they negotiated. Then they entered into a purchase and sale agreement because they knew what the other negotiating party was offering. We don't know what LCC's offering, so I'd like to at least know what they're offering before we authorize the manager to enter into the purchase and sale agreement.
Susan would probably be more...
That's my point. I mean, I support the project. I think we're all...
George, Susan could probably be more explicit about this, but actually it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same thing. It's that we had proposals
That was
brought
the
to...
same
It's not.
process.
We had proposals brought to us. We picked the one that we wanted to go for. We didn't know the details of it. We always have this sort of pull and tug between, they don't want to do all the details till we say go.
He can't authorize.
And so they want us to say go, then they feel they've got enough credibility behind the future that they can start going out there and getting the work done. So that is kind of the give and take of these processes. It always seems to me makes us a little uncomfortable, but as we see, you can go back because it's happened a few times. Yes. Did you want to add anything before?
I was going to say, I think that you're right, it's a very similar process. The project list that you had on January 11th about LCC had a lot of the similar information that you would have seen from a response to an RFP, and we have about the same level of information, and it really does evolve from that. It's an initial sort of, here's what we think we could bring to the site, and then it does go through that process that you discussed, Mayor, where it's really back and forth in negotiation. So we feel like we're in a very similar process to select the developer here and then move forward.
George Poland, you're next, and then Mike. No, Alan,
I'm
and then
done
Alan.
for now.
Well, I met with President Spiley a couple of months ago and went over some of this information with her, and I came back and I encouraged everybody to meet with her because her enthusiasm behind this project is just phenomenal, and that has not dropped in the least. In fact, it's starting to catch on. I'm very supportive of this. Lane Community College is a very important partner in our community, and I think, what we can do to help out this vision, I think we need to do it. I'm tired of looking at a big hole in the ground.
Yes.
And this would be so much better. And I think overall benefit to the downtown area is not just the education piece, but it'll just finger out from there. So I'm supportive of it, and I like the concepts. Thank you.
Thank you. Betty?
Well, I think community colleges are great all the time, and downtown's a great place. I'm just sorry that the original one wasn't downtown. I am somewhat concerned about what happens to the abandoned building, but that's for later, I guess. And I do have a question, though. You said you want the city to help with resources. Were you meaning money?
Well, it could be money. It could be waiving some of the systems development charges. I mean, obviously this is an invitation to participate with us, and what the shape of, how that would look is something that we'd have to work out. I mean, you'd first have to decide about your willingness to do that, and then the form that it would take is would be a future discussion.
Well, I'm certainly willing to waive charges and things of that sort, and to do all sorts of help. If it means using urban renewal funds, that's another, raising the debt limit, that sort of thing, that's another thing. But I think it's great to have the community college downtown, and I'd like to come and teach at it. I taught a couple of terms at Lane, and I also taught it at the community college at Coos Bay, and I think it's wonderful atmosphere. Thanks.
Mike?
I was just going to say, I think that is what we did with that site previously, was ask the city manager after we'd chosen one to go and say, what would an agreement look like before we enter into one? I think that's what we're doing here. The key word that's not in there is we're not giving him authority to enter into anything. We're just saying, go and have a discussion about what the terms would look like, and then come back to us and talk about it. And then we'd give him permission to enter into an agreement. Glenn's given me language here, I think, that makes that clearer and creates the same thing as the initially proposed language here. So when we get to that point, I think it'll clear it up.
Maybe let George take a look at it.
Yeah, oops, not my turn.
I've got, do you want in the queue again?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I've got Alan and Chris and then George.
So if I have this right, we're directing the city manager as the agency director to enter into a 6-month exclusive agreement with LCC, and they're going to go, that would be the end of June is when we would, all that negotiations on an exclusive basis would terminate. In the meanwhile, you're going to go off and do your studies, your feasibilities, come to a conclusion about what exactly is going to be in there and how much it's going to cost and all of that, and figure out your financing. And then at the same time, and probably right after that, the city manager is going to negotiate a deal with you for the sale of the property. And the sale of the property is absolutely necessary for you to be able to get financing, because nobody's going to finance a building where you don't have an agreement to purchase the property. So that has to be kind of up front a little bit more before you can get to financing. And then once all of that's in place, then city manager comes back to the city council as the urban renewal agency, and then we do final approval on it.
The only caveat I would add is that I believe Lane Community College is looking for the agreement to happen before the 6 months, but we gave it 6 months. But right. April is their target for that to occur.
Right.
But yes.
Right, because financing is critical.
And investing in an architect, we want to make sure that we know where we're going to be if we're going to spend a pretty substantial amount to have an architect actually do the design.
Right, because they're not.
So sooner rather than later for us.
So on the housing piece, do you guys do a property management degree? If you did, you could do work study for the housing part.
Yeah, we don't at the moment, but you never know.
Hey, Chris?
Actually, I thought George brought up a really good question, because sometimes it comes up in terms of what's the authority of us versus what's the authority of someone else. I think, and it can be very nebulous if you haven't kind of thought it through. And for me, it would be the equivalent of if I wanted to buy a house, and I asked my real estate agent to go make an offer, and then the next thing I hear from the real estate agent is, congratulations, you just bought a house. I go, well, for how much, on what, and that would be, I think that would be troublesome. And so what you want your real estate agent to do is go and negotiate the terms of the purchase, and then come back and say, here's what the terms are. Is that okay with you? And if it is, we'll sign it up. So the agreement in this case is, go and talk and say, here's the parameter. And that's a fairly involved process that requires a certain level of expertise that I don't have. But they got to come back and say, are you willing to accept this offer? And to me, that's what this has to be, and I think that's in here. But yeah, I wouldn't want to buy a house without having agreed to it.
Well, I guess the way that from the college's perspective, the board has given me the authority to negotiate with the city to try and acquire 10th and Charlton and dispose of our current facility. But our expectation is that we would come to some agreement as staff, and then the City of Eugene staff is going to have to come back to you for approval, and I'm going to have to go back to my board for approval.
Right.
We're not given the authority to just go out and do it. And that's the wonder of reporting to elected officials.
It's a benefit.
It's a benefit. I love it.
That's a feature, not a benefit.
George Brown?
Well, I certainly didn't mean to imply by my comments that I'm in any way opposed to this
No.
project. I'm certainly not. I I'm excited about the idea of finally making something happen there. It's just, and perhaps I misinterpreted this phrase. Maybe it's just as simple as that. Is this strictly just for the transfer of the property itself and no other financing whatsoever?
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's right. We'll be coming back with the final terms for the acquisition of the
I
site.
think I made a mistake then and misunderstood it.
And I think the motion will clarify that even more.
Okay, but it was just like, I just remember the failed project with WG, was that the purchase price, they were only going to buy it for $1, but they were going to pay all the SDCs. So it was related, just that one thing was related to all these other parts of the deal. Am I remembering that correctly?
We were going to sell it for $450,000 to them.
To WG? And it was Opus that wanted it for, okay, all right.
Different degrees, different terms.
But what I'm saying is that was actually tied into all these other things involving the whole financial package, and that's where council did have a lot of input beyond what the manager was doing, so, okay, thank you.
Before we put it on the motion on the table, I just wanted to point out this, these job-related things mean a lot to me here. So even though it cannot be fast enough for any of us, I mean, it takes longer than any of us would like, but the 300 to 400 construction jobs is a big deal. And the 45-plus permanent jobs, and the 6-job training program servicing 8,000 students. Those are all about getting people to work that we have set as a priority that we want to make some headway on. So I think I just wanted people to be aware that this isn't small. This is very ambitious in terms of what we're trying to do for and with our community.
I just wanted to say, before you take your vote also, because I know we take the vote and move on, but I also want to thank President Spildy for coming here. And it's hard for me to imagine a Eugene without Lane Community College, and many of us at the table, myself, have taken many classes there, and we're really lucky to have you in the college. And so when I think about the projects, and we're all very frustrated with the pits, and we want to see something happen, this is not just we want to see something happen. This is something a great project, and I'm super excited about it, too, and I just want to thank you.
You know, the other thing about it really is, it's not that I want to take away from the great institution on the Hill, but the very notion that we have that institution with a really large and wonderful presence in our downtown is very exciting to us. So, yes.
I'll try not to say anything more, but, and this is a love fest here, but
all good.
The thing about LCC that resonates with me is you do have a connection with the community, and people can see themselves very easily going there, where some of the other higher ed institutions, it doesn't resonate with them that they belong there, and people feel like they belong to LCC. So I think it's really important.
Oh, well, I think that means we're ready for you to put a motion on the table.
Sounds like it to me. I move to select LCC to redevelop the 10th and Charlton property as the location for its new downtown education facility. Direct the agency director to enter into an exclusive negotiation agreement with LCC for a period of 6 months. Negotiate proposed terms for a purchase and sale agreement for review and approval by the URA board.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor, none in opposition. It doesn't get any better than that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for
so
being here.
much.
Make it so. All right. Next item is put in our agenda for sort of a wrap-up on our city council goals. We're not quite ready for a wrap-up. We have our city council goals in motion right now and doing a really good job. Yes.
You adjourn the URA.
Ooh, I do. I need to go back to the council meeting. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to close the URA meeting and open the city council meeting. Thank you. All right.
Okay. So, as the mayor said, we had put that in there thinking that perhaps we would get close to being done, not knowing exactly how the conversation was going to go on Saturday. So we don't really need the time. I just wanted to recap a little bit. This past Saturday, you continued your conversation regarding the results of the Eugene Counts effort and your annual goal-setting effort. We had a rich dialogue about your 5 stated goals, the ones that are up on the wall, and the outcomes you'd like to achieve in those areas. While you may not have used the exact same words, you generally agreed you're committed to providing clarity and focus as we move through the goal-setting process. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll take that information that we've gathered and synthesize all that we heard and bring back a set of outcomes that could best meet your objectives in each of the goal areas. As we discussed on Saturday, picking 3 to 5 outcomes per goal is critical, but it's not the end of the process. As several of you pointed out on Saturday, the goals lead to the outcomes, which call for strategies and are ultimately going to call for us to make budget decisions about where we're going to put those dollars. Well, I've heard you all say you'd like to improve certain areas. I've also heard that it shouldn't be at any cost and that we need to be aware of the ripple effects. Several of the items you have discussed as important on your tentative agenda over the next few weeks. That you've discussed as important or on your tentative agenda over the next few weeks. This Wednesday, we'll be presenting the results and the next steps around the downtown public safety team. February 10th, we're scheduled to continue discussion on downtown projects. We're also going to be covering several transportation issues, including proposed LTD service reductions, downtown parking. In other words, your priority work continues as we step through this process. And the reason I wanted to say that is that it's going to be challenging to get us on here in the next week. It's probably going to be several weeks, and so we'll be distilling that, and I think City Manager Reese and I meet with all of you individually between now and then. So we'll be giving you information, we'll be meeting with you individually, and we want to make sure we have everybody's thoughts and keep you checked in as we plug along. So I think we're looking at the 22nd as our next time to come back. Yeah, 3 weeks. I think it's 2.5 weeks.
Good.
Any further questions or comments on that?
Sounds good.
We weren't done by today.
We have a lot of it compiled, but it's just,
Takes a while to tease
being
it
able to
out.
turn it around and have enough time for you guys to pick those. But we will be continuing, so I really feel like Wednesday's conversation is going to be a little bit of a conversation of Saturday when we really talk about just downtown safety.
Looking forward to that, actually.
Yeah.
Alan?
Could we see those, when you come up with your compilations and kind of distill them down and what we heard, can we have them sent out to us beforehand
Yeah.
and then have a conversation about it? So we can,
So the full set of everything that we heard.
yeah.
Yeah, no
The raw
problem.
stuff?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily need to see the raw stuff. But I think I'll watch it. I want to do that.
Anything else? Anybody else? So we have almost an hour till 40 minutes, and it doesn't. There's no point in trying to take anything off our later agenda because we can't do the consent calendar. Somebody's pulling one off of it anyway, so you won't be saving any time by dealing with it now. So
It's going to get pulled?
yeah, Mike has indicated he's going to pull the appointment to LaRapa off the consent calendar. So.
We could approve the rest of it.
You can. It makes no difference either way. I mean,
Yeah, we're still gonna be
doesn't take any time at all. So the only other thing you have is the opportunity, if there's any other item that anybody wants to bring up. We don't generally have any free time, but if there is anything anybody has that they want to bring forward, you have a couple of minutes now. You could do that.
No, I think I already spoke to my issue.
Okay.
And,
Right. Well, now's your time to talk. I'll close the meeting and you can talk to Andrew. All right. Thank you, everybody.
So, Andrew, what does it mean to work at their own pace? I mean,
well,